Are you live?
We're live now. All right.
We're back.
We're back. This is getting to be a daily show.
I know, it's exciting.
I tell you, there's no more exciting place than Tarrant County property taxes. It's off the charts.
It's property taxes, but it's funny.
Yeah, it is really funny. And there was a post or something I wrote said it has more plot twists than an episode of The Guiding Light or As the World Turns or pick your soap opera.
The Guiding Light at least was predictable. This is not.
It's true.
This is nuts.
And the acting might have been better quality than.
I don't know. Tell us what we got.
Okay, so we've got a handful of different things, and I just felt like it's just too much. We've just got to give some explanation and some whatever. So here's what's. I'm just going to recap a little bit. Okay. Oh my gosh. Last week, Jeff Law, chief appraiser of the Tarrant Appraisal District, he sent out a notice saying that the recall process was getting canceled and the vacancy on the board of directors was going to get filled by the sitting board members and not by the taxing entities. So what that would do would in effect disenfranchise these taxing entities from having someone on the board that represents their interests. And so it kind of indirectly causes taxpayers to not have a taxpayer representative on the board. And so that spurred the Keller mayor, Armin Mazzani, and the Keller City Council to write a letter that said, hey, we don't like that. We want the recall process. We started the ball rolling on this thing. Our intention was to recall so that we could vote for somebody else to represent us on that board. Well, the next day after they started the recall, Catherine Wildman resigned. So that kind of threw everything out of whack. Well, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I'll give you the punchline here in a minute. It's a twisted web of things anyway. But so so the Keller said, no, we're not going to stand for this. We need to be able to vote for our own replacement instead of having the board pick their own replacement. And then the Tarrant County judge, Tim O'Hare, and the Commissioners Court, they tapped their friend, Phil Sorrells, on the shoulder. He's the Tarrant County District Attorney.
DA.
The DA, the big dog.
The big dog.
God, the last person you would talk to is the district attorney.
Right.
One time I had a district attorney call me out of the blue, and he said, hey, man. He didn't say, hey, man. He's like, hey, bro. No, he didn't say that. He said, Mr. Crouch, we're starting an investigation, and we'd like to not, raise too much public attention on this. So we figured you'd have some information that could help us. And it was legitimate, sincere, but man, it was freaky just talking to him.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Don't want to talk to district attorney. Anyway, so they sent a letter saying Tarrant County is not on board with this finagling process. We believe that the rights of taxpayers should be preserved and the Commissioners Court should have a say in who fills that seat. So the district attorney sent that letter on behalf of Judge O'Hare and the Commissioners Court. So that's a huge thing.
And this is all happening on Friday.
That was this Friday. Today's Monday. That was 3 days ago or whatever. Okay.
But wait, there's more. Oh
my gosh. So also, I think it was on Friday, Randy Armstrong retired.
Oh gosh, that's right. Yes.
And so the crazy thing about that is that he set his retirement date to be the day before value notices come out. So his retirement last day on the job is going to be April 14th. We're all going to get our value notices on April 15th. So he's like, you never know. I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. He could have said, hey, I'm going to stay on board to help get this process going for this year so that you guys are set in the right spot. And so it could have been a kind thing, or it could have been I don't want to be a part of this sinking ship right when the value notices come out. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, congratulations, Randy.
Randy.
40 some years.
40 years.
That's crazy.
That is.
All right.
Okay. So we've got those things going on. All right. So all of this is happening last week. And then this week, actually over the weekend, somebody sent me a text message and said, hey, did you hear about the legislation that State Representative Charlie Geren filed? And I'm like, no. He said, yeah, he wants to abolish TAD. I'm like, wait a second. That's really, what's up, Jack Matt? Anybody seeing Jack Matt just log? He's watching. What's up, dude? Expert realtor. If you need a realtor, Jack Matt is on our team. He's top notch. All right, I'm going to stay focused. And what's up, Shane? All right. Okay. So, where was I? Legislation. Charlie Geren,
a high-ranking official.
Okay, not just high-ranking. This is a state legislator that's been in the House of Representatives in Texas for like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
And
he represents Fort Worth.
He's Fort Worth's guy.
He's big time.
He's been around forever. And not just that, there's something that's called like the Speaker Tempora something or other. It basically means he holds this position where he's like the number 2 guy in the House of Representatives.
It's no small deal.
It's no small deal. Here's the other thing. Friday was the deadline for them to file legislation. So, so it was the deadline to file legislation. You've got the number 2 guy in the whole House of Representatives filing this bill. And the bill was written in such a way that it only affects Tarrant County. So this is only a Tarrant County Appraisal District abolishing bill.
Can I say that this is no longer a Chandler thing?
It is not a Chandler thing.
It has nothing to do with.
And this is one thing. I've got a lot of thoughts on this. It feels really good that we have local politicians, local elected leaders standing up to represent taxpayers. And it's not just on me, because it feels like for a long time, it felt like I was the only one really standing up and saying, hey, this isn't right. And I don't want to minimize, like, there are a lot of people involved that are doing, they're doing their part. And I would not have been able to do what I've done and be as effective if there weren't other people working behind the scenes and a ridiculous amount of you guys making your voice heard. It's like, but I was kind of the mascot. Now Charlie Geren's the mascot. Mascot job over with. So let me go back. At first glance, I thought that this legislation was not something to take serious, because it's kind of like, hey, let's get rid of property taxes. Yeah, like, who doesn't want to pay less taxes? But the problem is like, what solution are we going to have? Until there's a really good solution that has more of a broad consensus, it's one of those things that's like, I think it helps to move that Overton window to change the conversation. And there might be a viable solution on the table. I'm just not smart enough to be able to understand it yet. And I'm thinking, let the eliminate property tax people like spearhead that. It's one of those things that's like,
you're going to stay in your lane.
Yeah, I'm going to stay in my lane. So I thought it was kind of one of those things. And it was just a message to say, quit messing around. But whenever it's filed, like it's filed, it makes me think this is something to take serious. Charlie Geren's not messing around. And he is fully intending on abolishing the Tarrant Appraisal District. And so, and here for the record, I've never had a phone conversation. I've never talked with Charlie Geren on email or text or phone or in person or anything. I've never met him.
Never met him.
This is a man that is decided on his own.
He's paying attention.
He's paying attention, and he said enough is enough. And in fact, I read some of the quotes that he gave the Star Telegram. Jess Harden, big shout out. She's on it like white on rice. And then Fort Worth Report is all over it. Scorecard. A lot of people are on it, but he was quoted just saying the Tarrant Appraisal District shouldn't be in the news, and they're in the news all the time. And basically, enough is enough. And so let me give you the kind of some high points about what this bill entails. It is actually a bill to actually get rid of the appraisal district, but it was written in such a way that where it only affects the Tarrant Appraisal District. And what they would do is they would give control of the appraisal district over to the comptroller.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I've heard of this kind of thing happening. In fact, this kind of thing is happening in the banking sector, where the FDIC is taking over that Silicon Valley Bank or whatever. Y'all, I'm sure people have heard of that. Well, the same thing kind of happens with school districts. The Texas Education Agency will take over a school district if they don't like the way it's being done. So it seems like this is legislation to basically allow the same thing, where Representative Geren is saying, hey, Tarrant Appraisal District is out of control. We need somebody to just step in and basically put it into some kind of receivership. I'm probably not even saying that. Receivership status where, somebody else is in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but just because it's, quote, abolished doesn't mean that
We don't have to pay taxes.
Right. Yeah. Like, come on, Charlie, you got to just write off those taxes for us. That would be the best thing you could do. No, but I think all the properties are still going to have to be valued. All exemptions are still going to have to be kept up to date. They're going to have to keep records. The appraisal district is going to have to do all the same appraisal district functions, and that requires a lot of help. There's 200 employees down there, and I saw one article. Rich Diot said in the article that he thinks that all the staff would keep their job. Oh no! Charlie Geren said most of the staff will keep their job. I think that he's looking for a leadership change, and that's what they're saying. They say, and the quote said, "The problem starts at the top," and so that kind of is a message saying leadership out there is having troubles, and we need new leadership. That's what it says to me. This is not my words. I'm not advocating for anybody to get fired. I think that definitely whatever. We have to solve the problem. And if that means somebody needs to get fired, so be it. But that's not my goal. I could care less. My goal is the appraisal district needs to be run well. We need good people on the board running it well, facing problems head on, not sweeping stuff under the rug. And so, all right. So this is Charlie Geren's solution. Is it a good thing?
I have no idea.
Well, I don't think anybody does. I think that it's a good thing that we have somebody standing up saying, I'm willing to stick my neck out on the line and I'm willing to be a leader in this situation and come up with a solution. Now, let me give you the counterpoint to this thing. We already know, according to the board meeting, the Tarrant Appraisal District board meeting back in November, Rich Diot said, hey, there's this report that exists that right now they were trying to conceal. They didn't even want the public to know that this report existed. And the report reveals criminal violations. According to Rich Diot, read it and said, hey, it looks to me like there's criminal violations of the report. We should come out with it.
This was a report done by an attorney hired to investigate what happened with the handling of your situation.
Yeah. All of this stuff results back to the complaints that Randy Armstrong filed against me, against my license. All of it is
snowballed from there.
It's just at one bad decision after the other. One choice to avoid facing problems head on and doing the hard thing after another. And so, anyway, so we've got this report exists. Where was I going with this?
You're just
no. Here's what it is.
Yeah.
If we have a regime change at the top, and there's evidence at TAD that there are criminal violations, what happens to that evidence? If we have a government entity coming and taking over for another government entity, are they just going to hit go to the shred bin and say, let's get rid of all the evidence? I tend to think that won't happen just because we have a tremendous amount of public attention on this. We have a lot of leaders. It's not a Charlie Geren exclusive issue. This is the City of Keller issue. This is a Tarrant Commissioner Court issue, a district attorney issue. And there are a number of other taxing entities and local government interests on this. I don't think that anybody would be okay with just getting rid of all the evidence. I think there's a lot of eyeballs. Now, I will say this. Epstein did kill himself. Think about it. Seriously. After all of the eyeballs on the whole Epstein thing, everybody's paying attention, and all of a sudden he comes up. I said he did kill himself. So that's probably the safe way to say it. So these videos don't get flagged. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, did he really? Okay. Obviously, it's fishy. So I'm just saying, eyeballs doesn't do the trick itself. Like I don't know. I think that that's a concern, but I think that getting the public comments of Representative Geren is really important because it gives a little bit more information about his intentions. And also, I want to say this: just because the bill is filed doesn't mean it's final. It doesn't mean the bill's passed.
No, yeah, it's got a long way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's on the calendar committee. It's got to come out of the committee, get voted. I mean, it's going to come a long way. I think that here's the thing: if Representative Geren wants the bill passed, it's going to get passed. I think that's just what's going to happen. I don't think he's going to see a whole lot of pushback because it's just a Tarrant County exclusive thing. So anyway, all right, there's a lot there. Let me just pause for a second and look at some of the comments here. All right, what's up, Shane in the house? What's up, Jack? Yo, time for him to go. 40 years is too long. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm surprised that I kind of think it's a crummy thing that Armstrong hung on that long. I mean, of course, look, I don't want to, it's his personal decision. And, you know, he's been committed to it for a long time. But I know that he applied for the chief appraiser job in 2019 at Denton Appraisal District. I did an open records request and I got all the information on it. So it makes me think maybe at this point in his career, he wasn't committed to sticking it out long term. And when all of this started happening, I'm just thinking, why the heck didn't he retire sooner? But whatever. I mean, he's his own man and he made the decisions he made. But anyway, all right. Terry Holt says they probably should be abolished. They're corrupt. Now, I'll say this. I think that we have some problems at the Tarrant Appraisal District. I would also, I like to give credit where credit's due because it's important. There are 200 employees there, and I think you have a few bad apples. I think you might have a little cancer that needs to be cut out, but by and large, there are a lot of good people there, and I would not have been able to do what I've done so far if it wasn't for good people on the inside fighting. Yeah. And so the good people need our support. That's important. And I'll also say this. I mean, up until this whole issue, Jeff Law we had a great relationship, and it's just, you know, one thing after another. I don't have to point out any other. I think everybody else is going to chime in, and I don't know, whatever. I'm just going to stick to what I'm saying here. All right, let's keep going. Is he proposing abolish all appraisal districts, just the Tarrant Appraisal District? Here's the crazy thing. The bill says abolish appraisal districts, but then it gives some conditions on what kind of qualifications have to be met in order for the appraisal district to be abolished. One of them is to have a population size of 2.1 million or more. So that alone narrows it down to like 3, like Dallas, Harrison, Tarrant. And then it gives some kind of criteria to further narrow it down to where Tarrant Appraisal District would be the only appraisal district affected by this. And here's the thing. I don't think this is not a solution where you wouldn't want all of the appraisal districts to get abolished overnight. You'd have chaos. There's not a solution to fill the gap.
Is it maybe the first step in reforming the appraisal districts?
I think it's I think it's maybe a lead domino to say this system, as it was designed back in 1979, has outlived its efficacy, or whatever. Where we need to come up with a bigger picture solution, and we've got some foundational piece of the puzzle that need to be reformatted. Okay, yeah, Randy's out. Kim, you are awesome. And so probably temporarily until some lucid, responsible adults. You know what, Tim? The newspaper articles that quoted Representative Geren said he was going for a permanent solution. But I don't know. I think I like local control as long as it's not run amok. I think that if we can have people represent our interests, that's kind of the name of the game. And that's where we've gone askew here. Steve, thank you, sir. And I've got some more. Let's see here. I think it's a good thing because what we have now isn't working. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Shane. Thanks for your input. Right now, obviously, we have something that's messed up. Now, here's the weird thing. When you look at the report cards that the appraisal district has, the scale they grade on, they actually score decently high on some metrics. And so they have a lot of good going for them. It's just they have some cancer that needs to be dealt with. All right, let's go back to what we need to talk about. So we talked about Randy Armstrong retiring. We talked about Jeff Law sending out a notice saying that the recall is canceled. And the response that the Tarrant Commissioners Court and Keller gave to that, they said, we're going to potentially sue you if you keep going on this path. Let's see, what else do we have here. I talked about the possible downfalls of the Charlie Geren legislation. I think all in all, I'm super refreshed by having local leaders stand up and fight for the people, even when it's something that, see, this is leadership. It's leader. Like it or not, you might be opposed to this bill. You might be for it. But regardless, he had to stick his neck out there and say, you know what, I'm proposing a solution. That takes leadership. And with every solution, there's going to come some scrutiny. And I think that both sides need to be heard here. There's some concerns and there's obvious momentum for some kind of change. And I think that the right place is to have a discussion and to get some innovative ideas out on the table and have some people stand up and exhibit some leadership. I think that that's a very positive thing that this system is needing.
I think you've discovered there isn't much accountability
Yeah.
at appraisal districts in general, and your situation.
Yeah. And I would say this is accountability.
This is accountability.
This is it. And for that, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Now, what that means is not really up to me. I just know when you have a problem with the appraisal district, you're supposed to be able to go to the chief appraiser. You're supposed to be able to go to the board. Then what's beyond that? The taxing entities, and look at them stepping up. And then what's beyond that? The legislatures, and look at them stepping up.
That's right.
It's really cool. We have to look, we can't just be the people that sit here and complain when things go wrong. We have to thank the leaders that are doing what we want. We need to reinforce the good behavior that we like. And I think that's important. All right, let's talk about this. There is, rumor has it, there's going to be an appraisal district board meeting this Friday, and I'm refreshing to see if it's posted yet. I don't see that it's posted. Okay, so I've heard there's going to be an appraisal district board meeting this Friday. It's either going to be 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. The last one was at 1 p.m., so I have a feeling it's probably going to be 1 p.m. And I don't know what they're going to address, but I don't think you have to be a fortune teller to see that they're going to probably address the recall situation, the letters that they got from Keller and the Commissioners Court, and probably this legislation from Representative Geren. And I would say it's going to be probably pretty limited in scope, but if you are an elected official or you know one, I think it's important for those guys to get there, just because this is something that is of interest to local elected officials, whether you view yourself as directly involved or not. We need our representatives there just paying attention so that they can stand up and make their voices heard and be the leaders that we want.
So what happens with the question about, is it legal for them to meet, and who runs the show and all of that?
It's a great question. Well, at the last board meeting that happened was after the recall was initiated and after the chairwoman filed her resignation. And she was the one that sat in the chair seat and conducted the meeting.
So weird.
So weird. And the rule that she cited was a holdover rule that's in the Texas Constitution for public officials. The holdover rule it's designed for the person to sit in that seat until the vacancy is filled. Okay. Well, the vacancy hadn't been filled yet. So according to that, I think there's a chance she could show up. However, I would say because of the headlines involved and because of the Commissioners Court, District Attorney Charlie Geren weighing in on all this stuff, and Keller weighing in, I think that it would be a very unpopular idea for her to show up. So I think the odds that she's going to show up are probably not very high.
Okay. So you've got 5 members of the board.
Then
She won't be there.
The only other officer on that board was Rich Diott, and he was the secretary. So I believe that he will be the presiding officer. That's how that kind of thing would typically go. So Rich Diott will probably be running the meeting. However, I don't know. I mean, I would say this. In one of my last videos, I mentioned that I heard rumors about the outgoing about Ms. Wildman and the old county judge, Glenn Whitley, making phone calls to the commissioners and making phone calls, almost like a campaign effort, which struck me as very weird because she had already resigned and the recall process had been initiated. So it struck me as very weird. Like there might be an effort to try and get her back on that board. Well, then after I released that video, Then the chief appraiser, Jeff Law, sent out this notice saying that the recall was canceled and now the board members were going to pick their own replacement. And I think that culmination of circumstances caused what about, gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
The DA to
It caused
and
Keller.
and
It's like,
Keller and-
wait a second.
yeah.
This thing that looked like such a far off possibility and really a wacky, conspiracy theory idea now looks plausible. And so let's squash it. It's not good.
The big dogs jumped in the fight.
Yeah, they did. Boy, did they ever. There was another little thing I was going to mention. Gosh, it's at the end of the day and my brain has just gone to mush. But here's the thing. Let me just go back to this. Oh, it had something to do with. Yeah. Oh, well, I'll just have to save it for my next Facebook Live. But I'll just say this. Look, the whole deal is whenever I started this company, I didn't want this company to just be another company where it's all about me making a living. Of course I have to make a living. And I want our agents to be very, very successful. That's a big part of this. But what comes ahead of all of that is serving the client as the number one priority. And I didn't want to just do that by trying to get clients. I wanted to get clients by becoming a valuable part of the community and serving and giving back. And we're already experts at fighting for people and negotiating for people and understanding property values. And so it was like, well, if we're already that good at all this, then what God has uniquely crafted me to be able to do is to give back in this way. And it's almost like going through Costco and getting a sample of the food, where you're getting a sample of what does it look like when Chandler Crouch Realtors is fighting for you. Well, we've got a team of people that are fighting behind the scenes, but what it is it's not letting an obstacle get in the way. And that's it. And all this stuff is kind of out of my hands, but it's a matter of seeing it through to the end, just deciding, we want to serve people. We want to help people. And if something threatens that, then you know what? I'm not fighting for any kind of political career here. So I don't have a political risk at just continually standing up for what's right and standing up for people. So I'm just going to stand up. And then before you know it, these other leaders have emerged and decided that it's a fight worth fighting behind. And now the ball is rolling and I'm not the one carrying the torch. So it's really cool to see.
It's really awesome to watch.
Yep. All right. Well, let's look at some other questions and then log off. I think we've had a lot of news lately, but let's see here. We've got Terry Holt again, all over it. The ones that are ethical and doing a good job are probably thankful. We'll probably, yeah, absolutely, Terry. I completely agree with you. In fact, I've talked to a number of ex-employees that say that they are silently screaming for something to happen and something to go on. So that's one reason why I want to make sure to always give credit to the people on the inside that just go to do their job. And it's a thankless job working at the appraisal district, because nobody's going to just think, oh, wow, you're doing such a good job for humanity here. It's hard. But it's a necessary job that keeps our government together and functioning. They have to do a good job. And so we appreciate the good guys. And that's another reason why, because of the knowledge and the position and the will that I have, it's just that much more important for me to stand up and try and be their voice too. Although I'm sure that somebody that's an employee of the appraisal district right now heard me just say that and they just want to vomit in their mouth, but whatever. All right. That's true. All right. Seniors need to be exempt from property taxes. Rick, this is one thing that I hear over and over again. I think that that's a sentiment that you could get some support for. The problem with a lot of property tax legislation is when you spread the burden out over an enormous pool of people, then it reduces the amount of burden for each person to be a manageable amount. So when you take a section of the population and you cut that section out, now what it does is it increases the amount of burden placed over a smaller number of people. And I would say that part of the issue that we have right now is that the protest and appraisal system favors commercial property owners so much that many, many, many millions of dollars of property value that should be getting taxed that are not being taxed is now an increased burden for the residential folks. And so let's just touch on this for a second. So it relates back to legislation that's filed and being considered right now. You have House Bill 2 and Senate Bill 2. I haven't gone really deep into this stuff because at this point in the legislative season, there are all these bills that are being filed, and they're all just ideas. It's not until they really start getting hashed out that we start to see what could potentially become law. And so I've just kind of got my hands full, and I just have reserved getting too deep into it. But I'll say this, on the House side, the House Bill 2, it's there's a cap that's going to be, it's proposed to be placed on all property, commercial, residential, all property. I'm not in favor of that. And it's because the disparity in the unfairness in the commercial versus the residential is so lopsided right now. I could give you a number of reasons, but and I promise there's probably some commercial tax consultants right now watching this just about to flip their lid. But everybody knows that if you're a big business commercial property owner, all you have to do to win your protest is sue the appraisal district under the uniform and equal third provision of the uniform and equal part of the tax code. And the appraisal district will settle with you. Okay, that's just how it goes. Then also, commercial property owners are not required to disclose their sales prices. Okay, so now we don't know what these properties are selling for. So when you go to fight your appraisal as a commercial property owner, the appraisal district doesn't have the data to be able to justify a solid defense against your protest. So then it goes in favor of the property owner. I'm all about private property rights, and I'm all about everybody being able to win their protest. And I'm not going to advocate on, the appraisal district trying to win a protest and like trying to bolster that. But what I'm against is when that's abused to the level of many, many tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that are not being taxed because of these dynamics, then the residential folks have to make up for that burden. And so on the residential side, even though it's a non-disclosure state, we're not legally required to disclose our sales price. There's a problem here, and it's how the Association of Realtor rules and just how our industry is formatted. If let's say 94% of all real estate transactions are sold using a realtor. Okay, all realtors have to adhere to the rules of the Association of Realtors and the MLS. And what those rules say is if you're hiring a realtor, we must put it on the MLS. And if we sell the property on the MLS, we must disclose the sales price. I'm actually not against this. I think it's okay because I'm all about accuracy of valuations. And on the residential side, the appraisal district has a ton of evidence, a ton of data to be able to come up with an accurate valuation. It's one of the things that allows real estate to be bought and sold so easily in liquid in a quick transaction. If you go to other countries where they don't have a lot of these rules, there's so much distrust in the system. It causes the economy to slow and real estate transactions to be stymied because everything's a negotiation. Everybody's taking advantage of each other until closing, and there's all sorts of problems. So I don't mind it, but I just don't like it being unfair. I don't like commercial getting such an advantage and then the residential having to foot the burden for that bill. So on the Senate side, it's a much more stripped down version of the bill. And I believe that the benefits are just going to be for homestead folks, for residential homestead folks. I just think there's a middle ground here, which would be all single family residential properties, or maybe even all residential properties. I would actually scale back to single family residential properties. All need value compression, and the commercial and multifamily side run amok. But the more you keep coming up with these little solutions of let's compress values here, let's cap a value here or there, you get into this situation where we're taking the worst edge off of the property tax system, when really what we need to do is reformat the entire thing. we have to come up with a bigger picture of reform. That's the actual solution. And we're always just trying to avoid it by coming up with caps and that sort of thing. And I'll say this, the tax consultants and tax attorneys are actively lobbying in Austin right now against these value caps. And I'll say this, much of their justification for why they're lobbying against it is sound. And their focus is, let's focus on I don't know if I forget what they call it, but it's basically just the rate compression on the M&O side of the school district tax. And I just started speaking Greek to a bunch of people out there. It's inside baseball stuff, but they're absolutely right. The solution needs to be at a deeper level of getting rid of the property tax on some level to be able to allow that that relief to come in a different form, more permanent form. And instead of favoring one little group or another, it needs to be something that's more holistic. I would like to see the system between commercial and residential to be more fair. And then before I take a breath and look at more comments and get ready to hang this thing up, I will also say, I believe business personal property is getting hosed as well. It's just, I'm going to care more about folks and their homes before I care about anything else. And so that's what gets all my attention, and that's what needs the attention. All right. Whew.
Deep breath.
How was that?
Deep breath, Jan.
Jeez. And Charlie Geren is trying to abolish the Tarrant Appraisal District. And Randy Armstrong was like, all right. That's just crazy. It's super nuts. All right. So Rick, good point. There's all my thoughts. I've got more of them, but we're just going to keep moving on. All right. What's this say? Thanks for helping the public stay aware, pushing for change. You got it, Sarah. I wish it wasn't so complicated and didn't require all this, but you know, it is what it is. I'm happy to be involved, and I am want to be part of the solution. Protest time's coming soon. Thanks for all your help. You got it. Hey, nobody can sign up for protests until the value notices come out. That's going to happen around April 15th. So there you go. So our website, I need to update the freetaxprotest.com. You can go there, sign up. I'll just notify you once registration's open. I've heard people say that the waiting list is really long. The length of the waiting list is irrelevant. It says waiting list. It's not really a waiting list. It's a waiting. We're waiting on TAD to be able to allow us to protest is all it is.
Just waiting for registration to open.
That's it.
Which is after.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate you. Sarah, what you saying here? I'm all for reducing or eliminating property taxes for senior citizens the proper way, especially those who have already paid their properties off. But I'm sure the greedy tax collectors will not want their 3.7 million Texans 65 years or older to stop paying their lining their pockets or whatever and lose 13% of the population's property taxes. Too many baby boomers means money. Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny how the appraisal district and the tax assessors. Now, I'll say there's some dirty stuff that's happened with the tax assessor stuff in Tarrant County, just because, like, you had. I'll just say the Fort Worth Weekly reported that Linebarger had done some campaign contributions to Wendy Bird. Oh, geez, probably shouldn't have said. Anyway, whatever. I'm just going to stick to this. By and large, the tax assessor and appraisal districts are just doing their job, sticking to the tax code. And the folks that are actually receiving the money would be the school districts, the contractors building the schools, and the local governments. And that's where, if the spending were to stop being out of control on those levels, then the demand for the property tax wouldn't be as high. All right, let's keep going before I am not deleting this after we get off. I don't think I've said anything.
Just keep going.
Just keep going. All right, let's keep going. All right. Let's just do this one right here. If you worked for us before, no, you don't, Jeff. If you go to tad.org and you look up your property and scroll down, you'll see a little section where it says agent. If my name is there, then you're good to go. If it does not say agent, then you'll need to sign up again. We're going through all those right now.
Watch for communications in your email.
Yeah, we're informing people if we think you should be signed up, but you're not because you never canceled through us or whatever. Or you didn't sell your property, but we're not on the property anymore. We're letting people know, but you don't have to sign up again unless we say, hey, you got to sign up again. We will want everybody to come back and check a box that says we still want you to protest. But for that, you just stay in reaction mode, watch your email, and I'll send an email out sometime after the 15th of April. It'll probably be before the end of April, after the 15th, somewhere in that window. I'll send an email asking you to respond. And that's all you have to do is just kind of wait till then. And then
Check your spam folder if you don't see it after April 15th or so.
yeah. What do we have here?
Darn spam
This guy
folder.
works his bleep off for, hey man, Dave, appreciate you. Appreciate you. Hey, you know what? It's not just me. Look, you got Jennifer right here, who, if you have a complicated situation, you're going to talk to her before you talk to me or anybody else, and she solves people's problems. We have a team of expert realtors that make all this possible, and that's the one thing that you have to. If you like the way that we're fighting for this, look, it started while we're fighting for homeowners, trying to help them, get a reduction on a purchase or maximize value when they're selling or whatever. And it just translates into whatever we're going to do. We're always fighting for people, trying to help make sure folks are getting the best, fairest shake they can on whatever it is. All right, y'all. Anything else? I think we covered it.
I think that's it.
Let's do it. I think that's enough. Hey, more news. Go to the Tarrant Appraisal District Board meeting if you don't have anything going on this Friday. It'll be posted soon enough. And with that, hope you have a great day. Over now.